Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Browns Latest. I'm Dave Grendzynski, and this is where you can come on in and get caught up on some of the latest news items that are tied to our favorite team in the National Football League, the Cleveland Browns. Thank you to everyone who has liked our previous episodes. Hopefully, you'll like this one. And also, thank you to all of you who have subscribed to the channel. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you did. And of course, always get those comments in the viewer comment section. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to unpack today, folks. It's mandatory minicamp week. We're calling this mandatory minicamp Monday. And we're going to explain to you everything that you can expect to happen out in Berea starting tomorrow. Hey, if you're one of the many Browns fans who was hoping this former Buckeye would be traded here before the season started, we have an update for you. Hey, listen to this. A Colorado Buffaloes insider shed some light on the Shedeur Sanders situation here in Cleveland, and he does not hold back, folks. You got to hear what he says. This guy has been tied to Dion for a long time. Great insight coming to you from him. And then down in the viewer comments, one potential trade partner for the Browns when it comes to our four quarterbacks that I never really thought about until it came up in the comments. But hey, before we get started on this mandatory minicamp Monday, I just would like to wish a very heavenly happy birthday to my dad, who was not only a huge Browns fan, but just a huge football fan in general, both college and pros. And I just wanted to take a second to give him a shout out today. June 9th is his birthday. It would have been his 87th birthday today. So happy birthday, Dad. Okay, now let's get down to business, folks. It is mandatory minicamp Monday. Mandatory minicamp will start tomorrow out in Berea, and here is what you can kind of expect, okay? Think about it as it's almost like OTAs, maybe on steroids. I don't know, maybe creatine, maybe not so much steroids, but the biggest difference is you got the veterans are there. The purpose of these minicamps, it's a final opportunity for the players to kind of work together before the summer break, and then they get into training camp. The players are required to attend, and if you're absent, you can be fined. So, Deontay Johnson, Myles Garrett, all these guys that have been missing, Joe Bitonio, all these guys will be there this week. The practices are designed, they try to refine their technique. Of course, they go over the playbook, and they get the players ready for kind of like the structure of the regular season days. The OTAs did that a little bit, but they'll get into it even more. Like we mentioned, not only are the rookies there, but all of the veterans will be there. This is what always happens right after OTAs. We get the mandatory minicamps. And the difference with this is the media will be out there. So we're going to get to see a lot of what's going on all week. And it will start tomorrow out there in Berea. Now, one person who won't be out in Berea this week is Chris Olave, the former Buckeye wide receiver. It's because he's a member of the New Orleans Saints. And there has been a lot of chatter the last couple of weeks about the Browns potentially trading for Chris Olave, and head coach Kellen Moore took care of any, if you had any hope, you can forget about it now. He said over the weekend, I wouldn't worry too much about that. We feel really, really good about Chris. He's had an excellent offseason. He's had an excellent career so far, and he's going to have an excellent future. Now, concussions is that they cut his season short in 2024, but from the start, I never even brought this up because to me, this has made absolutely no sense. I mean, you're talking about a team that is now going to rely on a rookie quarterback, and you're going to trade away what is probably his best weapon. I mean, Kamara is still there, and but I mean, he's getting up there. But their wide receiver room, going to have Rashid Shaheed and Brandon Cooks along with Olave. So there was no way that was ever going to happen in my mind. And now you see Kellen Moore coming out and shutting it down. So unfortunately, at least not at this time, Chris Olave will not be wearing a Browns uniform. Boy, how about this? Christopher Neely. He calls himself Uncle Neely. He is a media personality and content creator with the Colorado Buffaloes. He takes a lot of time and does segments with the DNVR Buffs show, and he's been in the realm of college football for a long time, producing content, but he's a big part of the pregame show with Deion Sanders, and he captures behind-the-scenes moments, and he documents. He's been documenting Deion's efforts at Jackson State and at Colorado for years, and so he's been around Deion. He knows Deion, and of course he knows Shedeur and all of the Sanders kids. He's watched them grow up, and boy, oh boy, he got on this DNVR show over the weekend, and man, oh man, did he have some things to say. And let's start. Okay, this is his philosophy on how the Browns are handling Shedeur right now. So we're gonna start there. This is what he said. He says, I can't draft a guy at 144 and give him QB1 reps. What's happening is that he's doing so damn good with his opportunities that you're not going to be able to keep him there. By the time you come back for full-blown camp in July, I predict he is going to bump up 1 or 2 slots, and I think you go into the season with him as quarterback 2. And right now, he's quarterback 4 in the room. And then he went on to talk about what Coach Prime tells his players who think they should be starting. And this 100% applies to Shedeur. And so this is what Deion tells all his players. And I'm sure he's telling Shedeur. You're mad because you're not getting the number of reps you deserve. But what are you doing with the reps you get? Before you think you should have 10, what do you do with the 5 I gave you? And the one thing Shedeur is doing, he is kicking ass with the 9 passes he's getting. And he's not wrong, And so there you can see the mindset that Shedeur has, and it's working so far. It's getting them to where he wants to go. And now, how about this? He then shared, and this is where I was like, whoa. He shared his thoughts on the pre-draft process and everything that happened with Shedeur and him dropping to the 5th round. Listen to this. He says, you have coaches with interest in their own jobs who say, I am not bringing that guy here, and then his daddy comes to replace me. You have GM people who don't want a larger-than-life presence like the Sanders name around. The guys who think that and orchestrated that are probably going to be out of a job in the next 2 seasons because it shows a lot about who they are and their competitive spirit. And if you orchestrate something so you wouldn't have to compete. So he says these guys they didn't want Deion around because they figured he was going to take their job, and they didn't want that, and I don't know. Like I said, we talked about this a few shows ago. I appreciate Uncle Neely's honesty, man. That was refreshing to hear, let me say. And but I'll just say this: I do think that, man, oh man, like we said, whether it's a Hard Knocks or a 30 for 30 something, I think somebody's going to look into this and see what happens, see what happened along the way with the Shedeur Sanders situation. And the other thing he went on to say is that Shedeur is always the same dude, even during bad times, and the world is going to see how all of these teams messed up because he says Shedeur is overly qualified to be an NFL quarterback. So very honest opinions from Uncle Neely. And now, also, first string already. You guys are overly qualified with what you put down there in the comments. You guys. And we're going to start with at JJJ. I love good handles. Grizzer, please check out what Uncle Neely had to say about Shedeur on the DNVR Buff Show. I listened to you guys. That's exactly where at JJ alerted me to this, and I went and I watched it, and I checked it out. I've edited it, and now I share it with you. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the knowledge at JJJ. And there we go. And now we all know what Uncle Neely had to say. At Ken's Mom 01. Could one of the Browns quarterbacks be headed to Indy? Now, I never really thought about Indy as a potential trade, but here's the thing. Anthony Richardson, he's hurt. He may not even be ready for training camp. And so they drafted Riley Leonard, but they also brought in Daniel Jones. So right now Daniel Jones is their starter. But I don't know if Indy. I mean, they'd have to offer us a lot. I think New Orleans still makes a lot more sense for Kenny Pickett. That's the one that I think. Now the one person everybody got to stop talking about trading is Shedeur Sanders. Like I saw one trade. I think this is, and it involved Indy. I think this is the stupidest trade proposal I've seen so far. All I'll say, it was a reporter with an outlet called The Heavy, and they said we should trade Shedeur Sanders to Indianapolis for Anthony Richardson, but we should also throw in a 4th-round pick. So we should give him Shedeur a 4th-round pick and get back Anthony Richardson. We should trade the most accurate quarterback coming out of college this year for the most inaccurate quarterback coming out of college a few years ago. And, oh, by the way, Richardson is hurt. Can we please stop with these stupid trade proposals? Just please. I like to live in actual and factual. That's what I like. So if something makes sense, I will talk about it. Actual and factual. Thank you, TLC. That's a great song, by the way. But can we live in actual and factual with these trade proposals? Okay, moving on. At Corey Snyder, 6418. Now, for all of you who don't know, Corey Snyder was also, I got to find out if this is his real name. Who knows? Maybe it is Corey Snyder. He played, back then they were the Indians, but now they're the Guardians. But he was the right fielder for the Cleveland Indians back in the 80s. And he was my favorite player growing up because I played outfield. He played outfield. He had a cannon, man. Was just a hell of a defensive player. And Corey Snyder chiming in on the viewer comments. And remember, we hear a lot of, the only reason people are talking about Cleveland is because Shedeur's here, and I have to push back on that a little bit because the Browns are always big talk, and Corey Snyder agrees. Maybe it is Corey Snyder because he was here and he witnessed what happens with the Browns. This is a Browns town. The Guardians and the Cavs are always going to play second fiddle to the Browns, but Corey Snyder says, nah, the media always finds something to talk about with Cleveland, and he's right. Like, we are always the Browns are always the first thing many people want to talk about when Cleveland comes up. How about this? Jamal Fountainette, 1463. He says, talking about Shedeur, sometimes no matter how many times you prove people wrong, they still want you to keep proving yourself. You can do right 1,000 times, but mess up once and they'll nail you to the cross. Some folks stay mad just to be mad. Some hate simply because they choose to. And he's right. And so, but I think a lot of that is going to start, it's going away. It's going away already. The tide's turning and everybody's seeing what we got in Shedeur. And then we're going to end on Tim Harsh, 5896. He says, what's the deal with Jamari Thrash? Is he showing signs of improvement? He says he's supposed to be a firecracker, and then he said it was no pun on my Joe Dirt reference from the other day. Remember, because I love that. I love that scene in that movie when he's the guy owns a fireworks stand and all he sells are snakes and sparklers. You're gonna stand there and tell me you own a fireworks stand and all you sell are snakes and sparklers? Like, I love that. With or without the scooter stick. Anyway, but he's wondering about Thrash, and he's out there. Listen, here's the thing with Thrash. Thrash's calling card in college was rack, run after catch. And this offense, now we're back to the Stefanski offense. Remember, they took him for the Stefanski offense. Maybe they knew what was coming down the road with Deshaun Watson. Maybe they knew they were going to end up chucking that whole, trying to make everything work for him. So if Thrash is going to thrive, and you know how I like alliteration, this would be the time. So they took him to fit this offense, and so we didn't get to see much of him last year because we didn't run Stefanski's offense, and so he should get his chance to flourish. DeAndre Carter is supposed to be in the mix in the slot where Thrash plays at as well, but I think Carter's came here more as a returner than anything else, and so we will see. The jury is out on Thrash, but this could be the year. That's what I'm saying, folks. Judy, Tillman, Thrash, Deontay Johnson, the wide receiver room might not be as bad as we think. Okay, mandatory minicamp Monday. Tomorrow it all starts, folks. We'll start breaking it down. There'll be plenty of videos and pictures and all kinds of things to look at and pick apart as the week goes along. Thank you so much for joining us. Go Browns. We'll see you next time.